Now I do see myself. So let me just go ahead and grab the... Sorry, hello to everyone there. I'm just going to go ahead and grab the chat room. Hello, no joke. What's up? And once I pop out the chat, we should be good to go. Something was broken. Okay. Awesome. So thank you for fixing that. I'm just going to go ahead and I nearly pressed the join button. I'm just going to go ahead and throw on the first game, and I'm just checking if settings look all right. I'm a little bit of, as Mr. No Joke knows well, a little bit of an irregular streamer these days. Oh, this actually... and so it always takes me a little bit just to get used to things. All right, there seems to be a big gap there. Let me just throw on, maybe let me give you guys a little bit of a bigger camera, and then the final thing I will do, final thing I will do is just maybe switch this to here. No, that looks terrible. Let's do it like this. Okay. Grandmaster Junior, what's up? Draw the 83. Hello to you guys, to you both. 1 second. I will just turn on some lights. For some reason, I feel like it's still kind of dark in here. And hopefully that does not make it worse. So I think, yeah, perfect. All right. So sorry for the delay. Is there Magnus? This is a good question. Let's take a look for now at who is here. We see a grandmaster who I don't recognize, at least, called Dart McCartney, but very strong, 2900. Top seed looks to be Sergei Zhigalko. Of course, Andrew Tang is also there, and his rating heavily fluctuates, but he is probably objectively a little bit stronger than Sergei Zhigalko. I also saw Matvey G4P. That's Matvey Galchenko, and yeah, very strong player and also a great coach. Yeah, let's jump right in. Let's kick things off with Sergei Zhigalko. But yeah, in terms of your question, Ratchet, it looks like there may not be a Magnus, and to be honest with you, I'd be quite surprised if Magnus did show up today, because at this point there isn't that much time before his World Championship defense with against Jan Nepomniachtchi. So it's quite possible, especially he's had quite a active online schedule, so I wouldn't be surprised if he really tones things down between now and the match. On the other hand, he might be working very hard and decide that the titled arena or such an event as this is the perfect opportunity to just blow off some steam. So we'll see. I wouldn't be completely shocked if he's here. I see rook takes e7 here as a threat, and Zhigalko finding it with queen e5 is the idea, because the knight is getting picked off there. Looks to me like in this game, black, the machine, is not going to survive this position. He can try, but I mean, even a move like a5 here, just rook e1, everything falls into shape. You can even bring the knight, but I think Zhigalko will try and find something better here. The pawn on c6 is falling. You do have to be a little bit careful of rook takes g4 ideas, with some attempt to get perpetual, but I think what Zhigalko feels is that the king is going to be safe here. I probably wouldn't have allowed this though, because queen f3 check. In the end, Zhigalko has knight e2. Probably rook e2 was also good, and so maybe he saw all of that. Maybe it was just intuition, but in any case, he's going to get the win here, and I'm not sure why the machine is continuing to play here. Dillman says, hello, Alex. How are you? Well, today I'm pretty good, actually. Not that I am good, because I've had very poor health the last few weeks. But today is probably the day I feel best in the last couple of weeks or so. So that you know, relatively speaking, I'm doing great. But yeah, in terms of is this event quite weak? I mean, it's very early days, 5 minutes in. You do have, Penguin and you've got Jigalko, who are very, very strong. But we are, of course, hoping. I mean, these guys are they're the super strong regulars that we're kind of accustomed to seeing. We're all hoping for someone like, Magnus or Alireza or guys like these. Though I do feel, and maybe you guys who tune in, if someone in the chat tunes into all of the title arenas, I do feel like these events are bringing in a little bit less of the super elite players than before. And my kind of theory about that is that there's just a lot of these like Grand Chess Tour online and Champions Chess Tour and all of these different events. They're happening, and I think that it's taking a little bit of time and energy and motivation away from players to participate in other events such as this one. But maybe people have different opinions as to why that is. But I feel like I've seen this kind of pattern where in recent months, the super elite players are just playing less frequently. So let's see. Magnus was online a few minutes before the arena started. That's quite interesting. Hopefully we'll see him still make an appearance. He's been known to do that every once in a while. Here, Black in a little bit of trouble. It looked like for a second there with that pinned piece. Now I wouldn't be surprised to see knight f4, which would attack the knight and also threaten knight e2 check. Black going in a different direction. He's looking to basically blast open an attack against the king. And honestly, I don't see this. I don't see white surviving this. I mean, it is a bullet game, so anything can happen. But the white position is too exposed. The queen here on g3 looking very silly. Queen a5 makes sense. Rook c3 ideas. Maybe even rook takes e4, followed by rook c3, kind of sacrificing the house. Because the knight on d5 is for now defending. Knight takes d6, very aggressive. But again, when the knight loses control of that square, I think it's going to be lights out. And again, crucial that queen e7 is being stopped by the knight. That's a check, but I think it's just a spite check, as we say, and here it takes, and knight c3 is going to be checkmate. So Dante Chess, who I don't know who it is, but these 2,900 plus players, they're just, it looks like they grow on trees, because every week, every new week that I do one of these commentaries, I see all these names I don't recognize. And it's always super impressive. And Dante actually does take the lead. So let's track him for a little bit. Let's see what happens here over the coming 2 or 3 games. I am happy to sort of take suggestions a few minutes from now for like who should be the next person that we look at after Dante Chess. Nicholas, it's good to see you. It's been a while. It's always good to see an old friend. And it's been hope you're keeping well. I see that your sense of humor remains, which is a good thing. But yeah, you had me a little bit scared there about the mandatory military service. I don't think I'm quite ready. The haircut might suggest it, but the general fitness levels don't. What's going on in this particular game here? We see queen takes h5 and queen d8, and now the king is stepping out to h7. So we're looking at white being up one pawn here. Pawn on e5 looking very dangerous, or looking to be in trouble, and the knight and the pawn combo is just very, very strong. This is nothing in comparison with the pawn on d7. Black is going to have to take time now to stop it, but they actually didn't do that, because if they had done this and the queen had promoted anyway, there was a checkmate here on g7 with the queen and knight. So Black desperate, but no luck, because after g6, queen f7 is going to be checkmate. Asius, appreciate that. And self-destroyer, not sure if sarcastic or not, but I'll take it I'll take like anything positive that's ever said about me. I always take it at self-value, at face value, while anything negative I take it as ironic or facetious, or whatever the words are. Yeah, so here it's looking like a hedgehog setup for Dante Chess against Samax. Samax is actually Max Varmerdam, very, very fast and quickly improving, now Grandmaster, but not so long ago International Master, who made a leap from like 2480 or something like this to 2620 in literally like 3 months or something. So big talent from the Netherlands. And here, Dante Chess gets the best of him. He just collapsed in Hedgehog. I think that Hedgehog positions are very, very difficult to play in Bullet. I think over the board classical games, they're very thorny positions. But I think like some positions are easier, lend themselves more to Bullet than to others. In my opinion, Hedgehog a tricky one there, and Max did not survive. Let's take a look. Dante Chess. He is in rank 4, but continues to play very, very strong chess here. Knight is under fire here. The pawn on c5 is under fire, so you have to either defend it with b6 or knight to d4 makes a lot of sense. Now we capture everything. Series of exchanges happen, and queen b4 just to defend the pawn on c5. Queen has to drop back to stave off the attack of the bishop, and again the knight is attacked. Now probably we're going to see something like rook to d8. Instead, rook c8, defending the pawn first and then going for c4, which just gets rid of that pawn, but hanging this rook, and that's going to be just lights out. I don't think he's going to continue. And there we see Dante Chess. Maybe there is possibility that it was a mouse slip rather than a genuine mistake, but we'll never know. Dante Chess has a big opponent here in Knight King 96, Alexander Bortnick, who a lot of people will be familiar with. He's quite young, maybe 22, 23 years old or something like this, but it feels like he's been around forever. I suspect he's been sort of a veteran of the online chess world, I would say for at least 10 years now. Yeah, so he started young. And here in this particular game, we see, I think it was a Caro-Kann and knight e4 here. The knight is very strong for black. Black has a kind of a fractured pawn structure. That's why we see knight f1 and knight e3 challenging these two pawns. And maybe knight a5, knight to b3. It's an active plan, but maybe it was better to have played g6 and hold on to your pawns and then go for your activity, because now you're losing one of them. White chooses to give this one up. Now, unfortunately, the rook moves and they lose a second one. Black does get that one pawn back. Now knight f6 in order to make sure that the central pawn isn't lost. Knight e5 and rook a2 targeting here, and white actually has shown really nice play with the knights, actually really very quick maneuvering. Bishop c5 necessary, that gives up a pawn, but in the end you've got knight takes d5, nice tactical shot here, and rook a6 covers the knight from the knight on f6 from a6, and that's actually very, very useful here. Black, both sides, I think this is a really high quality game. I think we're going to see b5 b4. Very, very high quality game where white is still up a pawn, but it's going to be very difficult to actually make use of that extra pawn. White maneuvering the king on over to the queen side, and now wants to try and assist the pawn forward, but black trying to make matters difficult for white. Rook c2 probable. No, f4 instead in order to defend this pawn. Both players need to play very quickly because it might just come down to time. And knight king actually has not only the extra pawn, but even more important is that 5-second pawn edge. So I think we're going to see knight king, one of the faster players in the world, I think. I think we're going to see him here with a conversion. Indeed, the rook is lost for black. Black is just desperate now, trying to take some pawns, but it's not going to be enough. Irish politicians must know that losing Alex in a war would decisively turn the public against it. Yeah, this I shall take as a joke. Okay, so this game just didn't happen. White didn't move. Sometimes these things happen. I guess maybe they got a phone call. Maybe their dog started barking. It certainly happened to me before. So. Yeah, I would imagine that they'll be back very soon. But it's a good moment to try and switch. And let's maybe switch over to Mr. Arm777. What do you guys think? Or is there somebody else who you'd much prefer? Yeah, so here in this game, we're seeing a pretty boring position. I mean, black is down one pawn. and just trying to sort of grind it out here. In a bullet game, that's the beauty of bullet. If you're down one pawn, it's not, oftentimes it's not the end of the world. This kind of position would just be absolutely horrific if it was in a classical game. Nevertheless, white is always going to try and press this position and this advantage. Knight e4. We're probably going to see c4, maybe knight f4 with dual ideas of knight d3. Instead, b4 was a nice idea because if you had taken, there was c3 check. The knight was here on d2. So now we can see rook takes, but the problem is after king b3, that was a good solution. So I think black's gone maybe slightly wrong, but in the end, actually, they get this rook takes a2, and even rook f2 I thought was just easier, but black instead is betting all their chips here on this pawn. Knight d3 check would be lovely if not for the fact that the rook was covering that square. Now promotion is inevitable, so that is that. And hello to Darth Von Trier. And I'm guessing by the Fion K emote that this is where we've met before. Yeah, hope you enjoy watching Bullet. It's very different to the guest streams that I do with Fiona over on the Fionketta Chess channel, which is sort of where I'm mostly streaming these days. But yeah, so hope you enjoy. So knight takes e4 and d5 here, bishop d3 targeting this knight. And so black removes the knight. What black needs to worry about here is just the lack of development, and bishop takes. There was a knight maneuver there just to snipe that pawn on g7. We see knight d7. We're probably going to see bishop takes h7. I'm not quite sure why they didn't do this now. Knight f8 does defend the pawn. Bishop takes h7 now is less strong because you can get rid of that bishop. I would have taken it because it looks like a strong bishop, and it also defends the pawn on c2. So if I'm going to look to maybe create an attack, I'd like to have this bishop out of the way. And now queen h5 is just a very, very nasty move, threatening checkmate. I don't see anything else other than rook g7. Thankfully for black, they have an attack here, and I think knight c6 is a big mistake. You just take here on h7, and white is lost because... That's a pity for white, because basically after this forced exchange, black has two minor pieces, and bishop takes h4 here. I do think that pawn is free, and I would have snapped that off because I do not want to see this pawn when I have one less rook. These kind of pawns are very, very dangerous. We'll see if black can control that, and that's what we see, this maneuver, bishop d7, bishop f5, just looking to cover that square. Rook takes e7. This is an interesting sequence, but I'm not sure what exactly it achieves. But rook g8 was a possibility. The pawn on c2 is falling, still not captured. I'm not sure. And there we see rook takes c2. Rook takes c2 I think is just too much here. Rook takes f2. I don't think this pawn is too scary. Bishop e4 at some point, and black looking to play d2 because of rook f2 picks up the bishop, and now just in time. Very controlled defense here, actually, it has to be said. I feel like they've made it a little bit more difficult for themselves, and even in the end, in the final position, white is actually queening. But I think at that point, black had just said, look, I really don't care about the position. I noticed that you're about to flag, and that's what I'm going to play for. We'll take a look for sure at one more game. Dilmand. Oh, okay. Oh, wow. So you played in Bunratty and in Galway as well. Yeah. Yeah, I played Nigel Short, indeed, who indeed finished with 6 out of 6. I have bad memories playing Nigel Short. I played him 3 times and literally lost all 3 games. But that particular game in 2017, was it 2017 or 2018? It was 2018. Yeah, I think, well, actually, it's a great question. Was it 2017 or 2018? Now I'm not 100%. I think it might have been 2018, I'm gonna guess, but I don't know. In any case, let's go back to the chess. But it's good that I didn't realize that you are either Irish or you play Irish events. So hope you enjoyed those, and maybe someday we'll chat at a different event. Let's bring it back to the chess here. Queen to d2, f6. It looks really horrible here for black because these knights are just monsters here. The only question is that this pawn on e5 is about to collapse, so white has to kind of go back, and in the end, in the sequence, you lose a piece. You don't lose a piece, you lose a pawn. Now white is lashing out, so black has actually defended pretty well, but the big problem, of course, is black is down a piece, and bishop takes g7, maybe even rook takes e4, knight g5. We're looking for knight e6, maybe looking for queen e3 here. Targeting this pawn, there's no way that the pawn can be saved. You can go knight takes e4 so that the pawn on c5 is defended, otherwise queen takes e5 would come in with check, and now queen c3 is going to just force the queens off. There was even maybe a nice little tactic there, I think, with knight to d6. But I won't go back. In general, people have given me the feedback that they'd rather I don't go back during a live game. So I won't be doing this. Knight takes f7. And now knight e5 check if possible. But okay, black, again, continuing to play. But this is just akin to time wasting simply because, you know, you're never going to flag your opponent here, especially not a 2900 plus player. Skaksin, by the way, no, I didn't fully recover. I've actually been really low on energy. Now, it may not have been due to the vaccine, but all I know is that my health took a tumble, and it took it at the exact time after, particularly after the second dose of the vaccine. So could be coincidence. But just in case, I'm doing like a battery of tests like bloods and x-rays and things like that, just to hopefully rule out anything too serious. But the good news is that today I feel much higher in energy than I have felt for the last couple of weeks. So still not high in energy, but very, very valiantly. But now you're probably going to have to go into this endgame, rooks off the board and looking to put your king here on d4. Actually, oh wow, what an interesting tactical idea. They want this g6 takes and in the end h7. That's a beautiful concept. And bishop d3, keeping this knight stuck. And bishop takes, pawn takes, king here, stops the pawns. And then this pawn can run, can it? I feel like that might have been no, I think black just gets there by one tempo. Now the knight was just given up. Unnecessary but beautiful technique here from black, maybe doing it on purpose. Those two pawns cannot be stopped. That's why white captures. And this was actually a masterclass in king and pawn endgames. It being bullet, absolutely impossible to show all the themes, but that was actually beautiful. Like, as far as I could understand, black, what why would you take here on h7? I mean, white, by the way, having the h pawn, in theory it's a draw if they go king g8. There's no way to stop that. But white instead goes back with king g6, and you don't play queen f8 to try to win the pawn. I don't think you're going to get flagged in this amount of time, right? So a little bit of a strange one there. Dart, I got the Pfizer one, the Pfizer Moderna. Pfizer Moderna, is it called? I got Pfizer. Pfizer and Moderna are the same ones, or no? They're different now. Now I'm unsure. Okay, so knight takes e6. Pawn takes, queen takes, king d8, and bishop to b5, and queen c7, having to defend against the literal threat of checkmate. Rook takes d7, bishop takes, and queen takes. Rook takes d7 anyway. The idea is to bring the rook over to d1. And how are you going to stop this? Very thematic, sacrificial ideas here. And I don't think the king can run anywhere. I think we're going to see a resignation very soon. Okay, this is the attempt that the king runs here. And maybe it works, but you just feel like after even a move like queen to d5, how are you going to defend this pawn? This point on b7, I think you're just going to you're going to have to do queen c7 if you want to prolong the game. But I think that's only going to prolong the agony. Rook takes, queen here, and maybe knight d5, and I think, okay, queen d6 and b4 is just forced mate in 2. So nicely found there. Someone saying in the chat that Elm is only 14 years old, so very, very impressive there. Pfizer and Moderna are different, yeah. Yeah, so I got the Pfizer one. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Again, it could be just completely unrelated. It could just be a complete coincidence. I wouldn't say my health has been amazing, let's say, over the last year or so, historically anyway. So I think it's more likely to be coincidence with me than if I had like amazing health for the last 5 years, let's say. Okay, f3, hitting the knight. If you move the knight to d6, bishop takes h7 is a real problem here. And now we see c takes, d4, e takes. I would have gone maybe bishop c4 check instead of capturing here, but I think you're gonna see, there is one problem. This queen is hitting the bishop, and the knight is hit, and the king is stuck in the center of the board. Queen f2, looking to patch things up, but you do allow black to grab 2 pieces for just an exchange here. Now the game has gotten, for just a rook. Now the game has gotten extremely messy. Queen c5. Now, the thing about it is that white is up in exchange, and we're probably going to see, we see knight e4. We're going to see a transition into this endgame, and white at the end of the day up in exchange. Bishop c4 is a move I like here, especially because otherwise you would be losing a rook. And now the question is, does white have enough technique to convert this position? It's extremely difficult to convert it actually because, but now it's easy. Rook a1, you can just capture the rook. And black didn't even want to see it. This is a game now that's interesting. Didn't want to continue is what I mean. This is a game that's very interesting here because it is Andrew Tang with the white pieces against the tournament leader, who is, I think, Haik Martirosyan, something like this. Somebody can let me know. Definitely Armenian, as many Armenians have this kind of arm in their words, in their name, and 7777. I'm not quite sure what that's about. Somebody probably knows. But yeah, so let's see. Bishop back to c5, knight c3. Are we seeing a lot of... We're seeing number 13 rank there for Andrew Tang, who maybe someone in the chat actually knows, but it feels to me like Andrew Tang's position as an incredibly dominant force in bullet chess online, I feel like that has dropped significantly in the last, let's say, I don't know, year or so. And I guess what I'm wondering, is that because he's like maybe doing different challenges or something that maybe doesn't have as strong of an internet connection or as good of a setup, or just plays more casually and less sort of competitively lately, because he's of course so young that I don't think that it's age that is causing him to decline, which may be the case for for older players like myself. But I am curious. I used to see him like at 3150, 3200 very, very frequently, and lately I see him more around that 3000 mark. Hey Florida, thank you very much for that. I'm glad that you like those videos. Yeah, and welcome to this. Hopefully you'll enjoy this bullet commentary. And Tethida says life just catches up. Yeah, I mean, it could be that he's in college now, and I think to a good college. I think like a demanding college, like maybe, I don't know, is it Princeton? I think it is. So I can imagine workload is high, and yeah, you know, priorities may be a little bit different. So could be that, or it could just be coincidence that whenever I've seen him, he seems to be having kind of lower ratings than he used to a year or so ago. Yeah, but I think for like, it wasn't so long ago that I was doing some commentary on the Katara Bullet Masters. Rook takes d7, nice tactic, queen takes, bishop f8, and the queen drops. That I was doing commentary in Katara, and he beat Magnus in a match. Actually beat him quite convincingly. So, you know, and that was only a few months back. So I don't think he's lost it just yet. Okay, so here we've got a King's Indian fianchetto e5, offering this pawn, but it's not so easy, because if you capture it, both knights are undefended, and they're both being eyed up by the bishop on g7. So I think that's why we see this particular sequence. Now knight h3, maybe looking for knight f4, try and reroute the knight. f3 makes a lot of sense because black has this pawn center, and you need to sort of advanced pawn center, you need to challenge it, otherwise it cramps your pieces too much. Knight f4, he takes f3, difficult decision. Bishop takes f3, keeps the bishop active, but leaves you with this weak pawn. Knight d5, tactics. It's not giving up a piece, because if they had taken with the pawn, the bishop would have captured the knight on f6. Now we see a3 looking to keep this knight out of the game. The knight on a6 for now doesn't play. These squares are unavailable. Rook c8, maybe hoping to not only challenge for the file, but challenge to bring that knight into the game. Knight e7 is the current threat, though. Rook c2, eyeing up, covering this threat, and now knight e7, rook d8 looks very, very scary to me. But do things work concretely here? What is the follow-up after bishop e8? Knight here. If bishop takes, knight takes. There's pressure here, but black solving their problems very well. Rook c8 is what I would expect, just pinning this knight. Very annoying. Rook c3 maybe, looking to unpin with a knight b5 move at some point. For now, white can't build more pressure here, so black is in no rush to unpin, and unpins in a different way. Black with a great defense, and unsurprising because it's drop stone. I believe, I'm not sure if this is the case, I believe the drop stone is David Paravian. I think someone can let me know if that is the case or if I'm mistaking him for a different username. Okay, bishop f3, knight to c2, bishop g4, looking for rook e6, but does it achieve much? Maybe rook e6 at some point, check, and then put your bishop, rook e6, and now maybe put your bishop here and try to hunt down this pawn on f4. Pawn on f4 drops, but rook takes h3, defends the knight. Rook check, check, knight e4. e4 doesn't do anything. Black is in great shape here, is up a piece. King has to move. However, the clock situation, 2 seconds, 6 against 2. Who's going to win this? The rook is hanging, knight b3. The rook is hanging. Dropstone had picked absolutely everything up except for one pawn. And I'm actually... That was so fast. I'm not even sure who won who won that game. I'm pretty sure that Dropstone lost because of that one pawn. But I know that Dropstone lost, but I don't know if Dropstone was the guy with all the material or just one pawn. I'm pretty sure it was the guy with all the material. All right, Zhigalko against Arm. And we might watch Dropstone after this particular game. Thank you, Ratchet, for that. We might watch Dropstone. I think they play very, very kind of aggressive and interesting chess. Rook a5, knight to d7, challenging this knight on e5. And White would kind of like to hold it, maybe with a move like queen e2. He goes bishop b1. It's a clever way of holding this point because if you take, there is an attack here on the queen, so you really can't do that. In the end, the knights get exchanged, and I'm not quite sure why White goes for this particular transition here. The bishop better placed here on b4? I don't know. The rook on h5 is also very, very strangely placed. And now White looking to blast things open, Black keeping things shut down, obviously, because you don't want these rooks to get into the game. You don't even really want this exchange because you want to blockade the advanced pawn at almost all costs. Rook takes h3 is the threat, so king f1, sidestepping that threat. Rook c5, the rooks come off the board. White's mission is clear. They want to get rid of this bishop so that they can start pushing the pawn, and we see that. Bishop b6. Bishop b6 is going to be a possibility here, but very, very nice tactics initially here, but in the end, White is actually the one that gets... oh my god, it's a blunderfest here. That was ridiculous from Zhigalko. He had such a nice combination. He takes here, he drops his bishop, queen e8 check, forces the win of the queen, has an extra queen, and then he goes drop and then drop. I mean, just in 2 moves, I think panic with the clock situation, bang bang, and that's, you know, that's the name of the game. That's Bullet, right? That's the beauty and the horror of Bullet all in one. So let's take a look in a second. Hope that Google Translate works properly. Yes. It works perfectly well, Dart, but I'm not sure it's strictly necessary to Google Translate things to Spanish for me to understand them. But one can never be too safe. Bishop takes, by the way, is almost lights out in this game. I mean, you're just up. It is lights out. You're up a million pawns. Rook takes d4 is possible, but rook takes c6. Okay, knight f3. Yeah, Ratchet, you're right. Google Translate is amazing these days. And I think it has to do, I read about this. It has to do with the fact that they switched from, like they used to translate each word individually. And now I think it like takes the full sentence and translates it. I don't know if like, I think it's, I mean, I know nothing about it, but I think it's some machine learning technique. Okay, let's take a look at, who can we take a look at? We had said, no, but they're not even, Dropstone is not even in the top 10, so we won't for now look at Dropstone. Let's take a look at MutD Pro, perhaps. Who, okay, maybe people in the chat can say, of the top 10 here that we see, who would you guys like me to look at? Erichan says Penguin. DK guy says Min. Yasugi, I don't think Yasugi is there. Oh, they are actually number 7. Gyart. It's a very mixed bag. A couple of people have said Zhigalko. I'm a little bit less inclined to go for Zhigalko though, because I'm assuming that, you know, like people who are big Zhigalko fans, they might just want to tune in. Although maybe he does it in Russian, so I understand. Matti Pro gets a couple there from Chess Noah, and I'm not a monster. So Matti Pro, let's go for it. Since they are in second position here, only second to Arm 7777. All right, so Matti Pro, very, very tough player. I wonder, have I played him many times? Yeah, I've played him 27 times. 27 times. You guys can't see it, but my score is like 8 against 19, which is actually not so bad given... sorry, am I completely losing my mind here? Or is there a pawn on h8? Have I completely lost all track of reality there? There was a pawn on h8, right? Please tell me, tell me that I wasn't seeing that you guys were also seeing that pawn on h8 for like 10 seconds, right? Because otherwise otherwise I'm in trouble. Okay, good stuff. There was a pawn on h8. Yeah, that was weird. I've never seen I've never seen such a bug in my life. That was really strange. But okay. Okay, Queen e3. At least anyway, because it's live. I'm sure that the devs will look into it very, very quickly. I guess the players saw it normally. I don't know. Okay, so White is putting the squeeze on here. D takes c6 is just en passant, and now f4, Queen f3, knight back to f6. It looks horrible here, but Queen takes b4 is a little bit of a bolt from the blue here, and tackling this knight is a bit uncomfortable for White. They choose to exchange this knight for this knight. Queen d5 looking to target this and targeting the bishop on c6. So Arm 777 is defending incredibly well here, and actually White probably has nothing better. I know Queen takes was rook b8. That was the problem. Queen e3, very nice idea. Looking for the counterattack. I was focused on defending here. Now Queen d6 necessary in order to defend this, and the point is Queen f8 is going to stop the threat of checkmate, but White has kind of gotten what they wanted, which is they now have this lovely position. Rook here, rook takes, and bishop here is going to win. Oh, he doesn't go for that particular sequence, but I think that was a very important sequence, and now Black is actually the only one who can press for the win. Black is now up 2 pawns, so that was a little bit of a miss there from Matti Pro. Bishop takes g2. For a second I was, what? But the point is that the other bishop was there hanging, and in the end, great tactics from Arm 777. And unfortunately for White, I think that they're going to lose this one. I don't think you can defend these 2 pawns down, and we're going to see h4, king f4, g3 at some point very soon, just covering the h3 square. Now g3, h3, and that's that. h2, bishop d5 is going to decide the game. So that was a little bit unfortunate there for Matti Pro, who was in control, but great defending from Arm. Some kind of London system setup here. Black lashes out with e5, looking to build a little bit of a pawn center here with e5 and f5, transferring the knight over to f7. A bit of unconventional. Wouldn't recommend this if you are newer to the game to play like this, but it reminds one a little bit of a kind of King's Indian setup where Black is just throwing all the pawns at White. Now knight e4, transferring knight f6, looking to bring the pieces into the game. Maybe we're going to see bishop f5, and at some point we're probably going to see h5, g4, just trying to blast things open against the White king. I like the Black position. Knight on e4 is unstable here. Queen g6 with the bishop are both targeting, and now we see all the pawns just racing towards the finish line here. Bishop g4, important move, trying to keep things a little bit calm here. And a4 looking to make progress on the queen side. Knight h6 looking to dislodge that bishop, and bishop goes back to h5. Finally Black gets this break with f3. White choosing to ignore it, maybe saying, if you take me, I'm going to go something like rook e1. I'm going to try to use your pawns as a shield. I don't think that's going to happen though. F takes g2 is a big threat because that would hit the bishop, hit the queen, and hit the rook. So g takes f3 played. And these are very, very dangerous light squares here. Bishop h3 already looking for queen h6 ideas. Black has nabbed an exchange, and on top of that is still continuing to attack with this strong, what we call a pawn wedge. That's a pawn that is on the 6th rank here. And bishop takes d4. Pawn wedges are very, very dangerous because they allow the creation of a lot of mating nets. Here, I think rook a1 check is a possibility, but black has to be careful about their own king safety here, with all of a sudden a very strong counterattack possibly available here. Bishop e5 check, and it's white that actually lands the killer blow. Takes, check, king has to move, and queen g7 was checkmate. That was actually crazy because, I mean, that was just completely crazy because I felt like black was completely winning, up material, safer king, etc. But their king was not 100% safe, and you know, that's what happens if your king is even 10% unsafe, and that was a lot more than 10% unsafe. Then what happens is you let your guard down for just a split second, and it's game over. That is, well, that's how chess works, but certainly in bullet, it's very easy to do. Hello to Jason Jones. Good evening. b3, bishop to d5, knight takes, pawn takes. We're probably going to see rook c8 at some point, looking for an attack here. White is trying to generate an attack, but I'm not sure if they're going to get it, or if this piece in particular is just going to look a little bit silly here. It has no squares. Knight b4. I can even imagine some knight takes c2, king takes, and bishop f2, and these kind of tricks would work. But black, of course, wants more. Crashes down, actually ends up giving up a piece, but now is invading with the rook and the bishop. The question is, how can black actually build up the pressure? I'm not sure that they can do it so easily. Maybe this was not the best decision, especially because their queen is kind of stuck to this square, because if you move it, e7 is coming with a check and with an attack on the rook and a potential promotion. So I think black is regretting the way that they've handled this position. a5, bishop to c4. Now white is just looking to just convert the game here. So Jasugi, the underdog, is in control. Matti Pro looking just to try and generate anything at all here. But bishop takes b3. Everything is safe. h6. There is an escape square. You step out of the line of this bishop. Black kind of wants moves like this. White invading with the queen. You could go for queen to f7, but he goes for bishop d2. The pieces are a little bit tangled up though. Bishop d2. I did not like this move. King c2. You lose this piece. Matti Pro staging a comeback. If you take here, your king is a little bit too open. Bishop d2, bishop d4. Queen c5 is maybe a move that we're going to see. But with only 1 second on the clock, Jasugi, very fast player, but I don't see him surviving this. Queen h5, queen e8. Oh, he does. Oh, wow. If king h7, it was going to be a draw by repetition in theory, or there was a draw by repetition, but black sacrificed their queen just to press for the clock, and that's why we saw white having pre-moved queen g6. That was a completely messy game, but in the end, Matti Pro came through, and he's ranked number 3 now in this event. I'm just going to take a little bit of a breather. Normally, I when I do commentary for Bullet and I'm in good shape, I'm like complete fitness. Like it's tiring, but in a fun way. But what I notice is, as I mentioned, for those of you who might be new here, who might have just tuned in, you won't have caught it. But I mentioned that I've been a little bit ill for the last while. And what you notice is like Bullet commentary is really a workout. Yeah, it's really a workout, and you kind of need to take breaks when you're a bit when you're not operating at 100%. Yeah, it's hike, Jason. It's hike Martyrosian. I think, by the way, Matti Pro is going to win again. He's marching the king over to a5, looking for b4, b5. Actually, this is a very smart move. So white's probably going to have to slot the king on a3, then b4, then b5, then king will go over. But sooner or later, this plan is inevitable. Black is being stubborn here, but you're not gonna avoid it forever. And there we see a resignation. Dropstone with a berserk against Matti Pro. I mean, that might explain why Dropstone has been absent from the top 10 for a while. It could be also that he was just late joining, but you have to believe that this is going to end in tears for Dropstone. I mean, you cannot possibly berserk here a Matti Pro 3,000 plus rated player and expect to win more than one in about 50 games. But we'll see. Does it happen here? G5. Monty Pro is in complete control. Rook takes e6, not complete control because there is bishop f5 as a little trick here. Bishop takes f4. Still, white will just move the queen because still you have this bishop f5 idea. But black has picked up a couple of pawns, so black actually is more or less in control. But the biggest factor is just the time situation. I mean, black is the only one who can be a little bit better here up a pawn. You might make an argument that white can hold the draw with best play, but with 11 seconds on the clock, that's not going to happen. The pawn on c5 is now a weakness, and I think black is going to chase that down at the right moment. And black is in no rush to exchange pieces. The rooks stay on the board, bishop to b2, looking for this. But be a little bit careful here, actually, because if you try, the black is trying to escape here the right way. If they had tried to escape this way, there was a checkmate. Oh, wow, and it's white, actually, that gets checkmated. I don't think I have time to show the checkmate. But basically here, if black had gone here, there was bishop d3, king a5, and then rook a7 is checkmate. So very well spotted by Monty Pro, who just shows his tactical sharpness, transferring the king over to the center of the board and escaping by the king side. Hey, to Tufel, I'm going to go for Tufalones as how you pronounce your name, but I'm not certain about that. But welcome. Yeah, so this particular game here, e5, knight e8. What is happening in this game? It's against the legendary Andrew Tang here, e6, f takes e6. The point is the pawn on g6 is dropping here. Maybe we have knight c4 and knight takes e3 though. That's an important bishop because that bishop could have been used to just crash down, and you also have bishop d4. And after queen takes, you have queen b6. That's critical that queen b6 exists just to get rid of the queens, because the black king is very, very much in danger here. Much, much less defense than the white king. Knight takes b5. Series of exchanges. White is very much still in the game, but they are down in exchange. So you have to be a bit careful here. But black has kind of weak pawn structure. These are two isolated pawns, and they're not very well coordinated. They can, however, take here. Knight d7, I'm not sure about that because there's rook b7 here, and I'm not sure what is the point. Maybe the point is I'm going to take here, and then I'm threatening this rook, and I'm also threatening knight f6 ideas. So Monty Pro is going into the tank here, probably trying to figure out what is the best thing that I can do. He goes for rook d6, he goes for this path, and knight f5 is the point, but king f6, knight takes d6, knight takes, everything is under control, and black is up a piece. So big miscalculation here from Penguin, who I think had at least equality, if not better, and now he's objectively losing. The question is, though, against a player who, at least when he is in peak form, is the fastest man on the planet, in my opinion, and that is Andrew Tang. Is he going to be able to is Monty Pro going to be able to convert this? And we see that Andrew, I don't know if it's the internet, is it the fact that they're streaming? I don't know what it is, but not showing his best form in terms of speed as well as the actual play there, and he ends up losing that game. It's a German name. But now I still don't know if it's Teufel Loans, Teufel, and then Loans. Anyway, I famously lived in Hamburg for like 7 or 8 months last year, and didn't brush up my German at all. And by that I mean I made a great effort of not learning anything. My girlfriend says that the only thing I learned was letzter Stock, meaning the last floor in my building, because I was frequently ordering takeaway food, or delivery food, and so when the delivery driver would arrive, I'd say letzter Stock, and then I'd say vielen Dank, and that was about it, really. Bitte as well, and that's about it. Please, thank you, and last floor. So yeah. The brown cheese. Yes, Monty Pro. He's now just dropped to number 2. So there's the Astaneh Chess buff, but there's also the brown cheese jinx. So it seems to be more powerful than the buff. Fiancetta, how are you on this fine evening? Only one word of Luxembourgish in 3 years. I'm being accused of having learned. I feel I've learned more than one word. Now, at the present moment, I can actually only think of one word, and that's moyen. But I'm pretty sure I know more than one. Pretty sure I could recognize like 2 or 3. Okay, rook check here, by the way, was a threat of checkmate. So white exchanging a bunch of stuff, but here black is just going to win this pawn endgame. It's terrible because you have this outside pass pawn. And that was a nice technique, nice endgame technique there from Matti Pro. So tell us, who is dropstone, or tell the extra word in Luxembourgish? This is a bit embarrassing. To be honest. Yeah. Dropstone is Parabian. Yeah, I think Matti Pro stands for Manchester United Pro, or Man United Pro. Okay, let's take a look at maybe Shant, another of the Armenians, or maybe Amin. Let's say he's had a very, very rough run of it. Like, I think 6 losses in a row. So maybe we can be like vultures when we smell death. We approach and we see. But in this case, we're friendly vultures, and we're hoping for a comeback here from Amin. Let's see if that happens here. 92, bishop takes, and yeah, smell the tilt. It's definitely real. And here f5 necessary, because otherwise bishop, if you go back here, bishop f6 and queen h8 was just a lethal idea. So f5, e takes f6 here, bishop d4, and king h1, and black might try to generate some kind of attacking ideas themselves, but they're not really working. Looking to double up here, looking to put some pressure. White goes rook g1, which is an interesting move, because if you take, you gotta wonder. No, before the queen was on c7, so white's idea must just have been to say, look, I'll give you an exchange because this bishop is worth at least that. Queen e4, covering this pawn on g6, and now looking for that. Oh, what a nice trick. That Matti Pro falls for queen f5, inviting queen h6, and then bang, queen takes h3. The point is, if you had taken the queen, the other rook from the 7th rank was coming on over to h2, and it was checkmate. So very nice little textbook tactic there from Amin, and we see once again the Astaneh watch party buff in action here, where the second that we watch Amin, he recovers. So Amin, no doubt thinking, where were you guys sooner when I was suffering, when I was struggling? But let's not celebrate too soon. On behalf of Amin, who is an Iranian grandmaster, one of the sort of young crop of very, very strong Iranian grandmasters here. f3, putting pressure on this pawn on e4, and knight to g6. We see an exchange there. You have to be a little bit careful here, because that knight on b3 is being eyed up by the queen. The knight retreats, transferring over to try and get rid of one of the key black pawns. F takes e and f takes e again, or sorry, g takes f and f takes e. That's absolutely worth it. You're going to lose your rook, but you get 2 pawns, and those pawns are so strong that we even see black giving up a knight just for 2 pawns, and now for a 3rd pawn. That makes a lot of sense, especially because now with those pawns out of the way, the black bishop becomes a much stronger piece. Knight to d5, exchange of the knights, queen to g5, and now bishop d3, looking for that checkmate. Knight e5 necessary, sorry, not necessary, queen h6 necessary, knight e5, adding attackers to the party, and here knight g6 is going to be game over. Resignation necessary, because after king h7 there's knight takes f8 with a double attack, so you lose a full rook, and your king can't go here because of the bishop. So we took Amin on the road to recovery, but it was a short road, just one game, and unfortunately they lose again. But you know, that's just a testament to how strong all of the top guys are here. He maintains his rank of number 4, so he maintains his standing in among the top players here. In spite of this bad streak, let's see, can he turn things around against Andrew Tang? We see a series of exchanges on the king side, and black looking to advance on the queen side, looking to make some progress. Rook c8 because that pawn was under fire. Queen d2, targeting the pawn on a5. Queen d8, slotting back to defend. Bishop b1, probably looking to set up a battery here. Knight f4. Queen goes to b6. Is the move c5? Is that what black wants? The problem is knight takes d5 will be possible here. Knight f8 and g6, looking to sort of cut out the effect of these aggressively positioned pieces, the knight and the bishop, against the black king side. And c5 is played in the end, but the problem is that pawn becomes an isolated pawn, and now it's actually lost. So the question is, who actually benefited from all of that play on the queen side and center that black tried to generate? It looks like it was penguin, h5. Now the idea here is rook to h5 check. I'm a little bit surprised that black didn't go for that when he could have. He goes for rook c4, targeting this pawn, g3, defending, knight f5. Bishop takes is possible, but he rejects that option. Rook to d4. Rook to d4, and now this is a problem because you have to maintain defense of this pawn with the queen, and so now maybe rook takes, and queen to c6 looks very, very interesting to me, very, very tempting. And I think, oh, okay, so he doesn't go that. He goes for a4, and after queen takes a4, he goes rook d8, and ends up with this position where he's just lost the pawn. I'm not quite sure what the thinking was in this variation. Maybe there was a key detail that I missed. Here, queen goes to e5. The queens get off the board. In the end, it is approximately equal position rook endgame. But now maybe you could exchange the rooks. That's too dangerous, though. This is an advanced pawn. 9 seconds against 4. Unfortunately for Penguin, it looks like once again he has those unusual problems of for him of being the one who is lower on time and who's actually being flagged. That is very out of the ordinary for Penguin. We've commented on it so far because of the fact that, you know, Penguin is maybe the fastest player in the world, or if he's not, he's up there with the likes of, you know, Alireza and maybe one or two others. Okay, let's take a look at one more game of Amin, and let's see what happens. He fianchettos his bishop here. Fianchettos the bishop and targets the center. E takes d3, bishop takes d3. You have to be a little bit careful here because your king is a little bit naked here on the king side. The knight transfers over, and now c4, looking to break things down. Queen c2, hitting here. The knight is also hit, so you could win a pawn with some sequence like that. But maybe the bishop is worth more than this just flank pawn. It's not so interesting. So in the end, the bishops come off the board. That option is no longer there. Pawns are very, very weak here. E4 is the plan that white is pushing for here, looking to kick back the bishop. Queen b4, interesting move, because saying not only do I target the knight, but also the rook is now undefended. So for now, there was no possibility, if you did capture, that rook was falling. Massive series of exchanges. I've lost track of what happened there, but we do end up with this equal pawn endgame, but one where black is the one that's going to suffer, because actually this pawn can just be captured at any moment. And there it goes. Knight takes a5. King will approach, maybe knight e4, king e3 just to defend this pawn. King d3, just trying to kick away. But clever, maybe f3 there is what makes the most sense. I'm surprised that now you're very, very close. There we see the f3. And now the knight actually has to be careful not to get trapped here. Knight to c4. The critical thing is this flank pawn. And white would love nothing more than to trap the black knight. But for now, I mean, the knight has gone around in a bunch of circuits, but where is it? It ended up on h1. That's not what you want. And f4, knight e2, king here, and knight d4, just trying to bring the knight back to life. But unfortunately, that pawn was unstoppable at that point. So promotion and very pragmatic decision here from Amin just says, look, I'm going to give back my queen just for a knight because I know that this king and pawn endgame is an easy win. And the only question is, can he convert in time? I think he will. 5 seconds for a 3,000 rated player. I think we're going to see it. We're going to see that conversion. And there we go with 3 seconds. So next player that we should look at, guys. Unfortunately, there are none of the, you know, super elite players like Magnus or Can you even, should you, is it, the funny thing is, like, when you're referring to Magnus, to call him super elite feels almost like an insult, right? I mean, he's in his own category. The world champion is not here today, but yeah, and neither is players like Alireza or Naroditsky, who is today a rest day in the U.S. Championships? I don't believe it is. So I guess that Naroditsky is playing in the U.S. Chess Championships. That was actually, by the way, really cool. I've been doing some commentary on that event alongside Fiona, aka Fionchetta, and for some of the rounds, and it was really cool actually to see Naroditsky defeat Caruana with the black pieces. As a fan of Naroditsky and his content, very cool to see him get that kind of scalp. Even though I have a lot of respect for Fabi and just I love Fabi's style of play as well. Chess Weeb is Danish Boros, as someone said. So who should we take a look at? Chess Weeb is actually leapfrogged to 4th place, which is really impressive after this frankly not good start. I mean, that's actually incredible, right? You start off with a streak where after a handful of games you lose 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I think that's 9 games out of 10. I mean, if I lost 9 games out of 10, I think I would just leave. I wouldn't touch chess for the next few hours at least. And but he made an incredible comeback there and has won a bunch of games. So let's take a look. Let's hopefully not jinx him. Let's see. Chess Weeb. Alrighty. So yeah, f3, rook e8, rook g1, bishop c5, b4, and bishop to f8, and a5. And white has a bunch of space here on the king side. Yeah, and it's very interesting to see what white is trying to do is basically eyeing up the king, looking for e takes, queen takes, and then that king would be on h7. So that's why Eric Rosen, actually, this is a great game, a battle of streamers between Chess Weeb and Eric Rosen. I didn't even notice that was the case, and that's why Eric anyway dropped the king back to h8, and now he's getting huge activity. And I think Chess Weeb is in trouble here. I don't know how exactly you can convert, but I'm really surprised. Knight takes e5. Why was knight takes e5 not played here with a huge threat of knight takes f3? Now there's bishop d2, and I feel like knight takes e5. This game is a mess. This game is completely a mind-boggling mess here. I don't know what's going on, but white at least has 2 pieces. White has a rook for 2 pieces, but they have an incredibly strong pawn here. White going for f4, rook c5, king b3, a4. Check, king a2, no interest in taking the pawn, even though it was probably okay to take it, but why risk your king getting maybe caught in a mating net? Rook takes c6, not played. I'm really surprised by that because it looked like there was a combination there. And again, I think that both players, they're just in panic mode here. The clock situation, white has picked up 2 rooks, but he's down to 1 second. Is Eric Rosen going to flag? Not flag, but it's Chess Weeb that flags. Eric Rosen is the flagger, and Eric Rosen gets that. I've played both players many times before, and speaking frankly, I think Chess Weeb plays. I mean, and the ratings reflect that. I do think Chess Weeb is a stronger player in terms of the quality of their moves, but Eric Rosen is a very, very strong player in his own right, and he's a very I think very fast player. Actually, you maybe wouldn't think it for those of you who have tuned into some of his streams, which I think will be many of you. Eric is a guy who is so like chill. He's always sort of soft spoken and drinking his tea and this, and maybe you don't as a result think of him as a very fast player, but in my experience playing against him, he is an extremely fast player. So no surprise there that he won that very, very close contest there, both on position and on clock. Tomerzi says, at Alex, do you have your own channel? In theory, I do. It's twitch.tv/Astaneh. But in reality, I haven't streamed for like a year or so. And I really haven't streamed regularly since like 2017 or so. I attempted a comeback to the streaming scene earlier in the year. It was like, I guess, January, February, that kind of time. And at the time I thought, like, I don't know why. I mean, I had just sort of, I'd been working for basically I had a role in Play Magnus, and I'd been doing that for a while, but was sort of transitioning away from that. And I wanted to re-explore streaming. But somehow after streaming for like a month, I got very, very ill for like the sickest I've been, the illest I've been for like 2 months or so. And after that happened, I was just like, yeah, okay. I guess streaming is not healthy for me. So yeah. But now, I mean, ever since I recovered, it was a long time ago, of course, January. So ever since recovering, I mean, I could have returned to it. But passion isn't there to stream every day. I like to stream every once in a while more than every day. You know, like that's the thing. Like, I think it's kind of weird with streaming that you can, like, there are people like John Bartholomew, for example, who just streams every once in a while. So you can do it like that. But if you want to, like, if you want streaming to be your main job, you really have to put in like a crazy amount of hours. And I it's a pity. I kind of wish that I was passionate about streaming that amount of hours, because I like to stream every once in a while. So it would be like my let's say my career path would be a lot simpler if I was like, okay, I love to stream, I love to do like 50 hours or whatever. Because I'm not saying, you know, like you're not gonna make millions streaming, short of, you know, being like one of 3 or 4 people in the world. But like what I was doing previously was mainly like coaching and assisting with a coaching website, and those are things where streaming can like offer similar or better pay. And Bishop E5 check there, by the way, was good, and it's kind of more interesting and more interactive. So yeah, long story short, it'd be cool if streaming captured, like if I liked to stream for 30 hours a week or whatever. But whenever I've tried it, I just feel a little bit like it takes the fun out of it when I stream too often. Okay, so, and I know Levi Rosman, who is maybe in Lichess circles a little bit of a divisive figure, but I don't know why I even say that, because that's not relevant. I mean, I think he's a great streamer, and he's a guy who I was watching. I've watched a bunch of his content, and I was watching one of his like podcasts on YouTube where he said that after a while, like, he just didn't even enjoy streaming. Like, he much preferred creating content on YouTube than streaming, because yeah, like, he was doing so much of it that after a while it just became repetitive and tedious. Whereas with YouTube content, you can just like be more creative, because it's not you know, like, it's like because it's not live, you can afford to like pour more time into things like editing and scripting it and stuff like that. So it's a little bit more creative as a result. Okay, this game here between Weeb and C99 and Andrew Tang is down to rook and bishop. Bishop goes to C3, rook A3, and I mean, Weeb Chess Weeb just crushed him, to be honest. But there was a berserk here from Andrew. The Brown Cheese says, your Chess Factor videos are still my go-to when it comes to opening theory. You know, that's another thing, actually. Like, that's why I'm nearly more tempted, to be honest, to get back into YouTube and creating content there. Not for Chess Factor, but for my personal channel. And part of it, like, largely has to do with Chess Factor and the fact that there's so many people who have said to me, like, I haven't recorded a video for Chess Factor in over a year. But Chess Factor has been gradually putting out content that had been recorded, you know, at least a year ago, if not longer. And that, like, that is really beautiful about YouTube, that you can do work like a year or two ago, and that work is sort of put out into the world and kind of consumed by different people over a very long time horizon, and you get to, like, influence people's chess development. Like, for me, I think that's really cool, because, like, my personal experience when I streamed, like, some people still recall you know, my streams from, let's say, 2016 or whatever, but it's more like a little cult following more so than anything else. But with something like Chess Factor, I can imagine that those videos are just gonna continue to gain in views and help people out with their chess over the coming, you know, maybe decade at least, if not longer. And I think that's really powerful and really cool. So I kind of want to return to putting out content on YouTube, and I try to do it. But sometimes I also kind of feel like I don't even know what type of content I'd put out, you know? Like, I feel at this point, like, most things have been done in chess, and of course you can always just put your own spin on things. But I don't know. Oof, Chess Weeb with a total blow up here. I mean, he's now, I'm sure he's now just playing on from sheer frustration here, because I mean, he was completely winning, and he ends up with a loss. I mean, that was horrific. Let's take a look. We have been we've been talking about different stuff that isn't the event itself for a while, so let's go ahead and take a look. What are the current standings? Arm is only 1 point ahead. Excuse me. So Arm is only 1 point ahead. Man United Pro, he is now he's 2 points behind, but he has the fire icon. The fire icon is basically that he's on a streak. Sorry. Excuse me. Unfortunately, I think this was just something got stuck. But yeah, I mean, so I didn't specify, like, my health issues have been relating to, like, not relating to any coughing, but definitely relating to, like, my breathing quality, and some, like, chest pain and stuff like that, which has gone away now, but it's always very, very scary. So yeah, but I don't think that was related. I think something just got kind of stuck in my throat there. Yeah, it's very scary, because of course when I, like, when I Googled my symptoms, I immediately got something like, you know, Pfizer vaccine, and then like, can cause this in rare cases. And of course, like, probably I'm gonna be told, no, that's not it, it's something else, or, you know, but it's always scary when you have, like, when you suddenly feel bad, and after, in my case, it was after the vaccine, and then you take a look on Google. I mean, that's one thing. I'm an inquisitive guy, as I'm sure many of you are, but I can understand, like, the advice that a doctor once gave me, She said, whatever you do, don't Google your symptoms, because it's a dangerous road to go down. Okay, so Man United Pro in first place in the event. So they have managed to secure that first spot, but 44 minutes to go. Things will heat up when it's down to about 15-20 minutes or so. But for now, everything, it's anybody's game, and this lead is nice, but it does not matter too much. So h4 here, looking to put pressure on the pawn, and h takes, ignoring this rook. You're definitely not going to move the rook because this pawn would drop. Knight goes to g5, queen goes to g2 because the knight was attacking the queen, and now rook e1. We see an exchange of a queen for two rooks, and maybe we're going to see rook e8, with the point being that if you take me, there's going to be this move. And now rook e3, very nice. The point is, rook takes g3 ideas, as well as knight f2 is going to be lights out because of rook e1. I can even take you here and then bring the other rook, and I give you my two rooks, but I get your queen and your bishop in return. Knight e5 played instead. A little bit surprised by this choice, king h2. Now white at least is escaping, but the problem is with the clock situation. Knight here, check, rook h8, check, bishop c5 if you go to king g1. Notice how efficient Matti Pro is with these tactical ideas. Very, very nice sequence there, and no chance for white. So are we on the Matti Pro TV? Let's make sure that we are. So Matti Pro TV, we are there. We will wait for the next game. In the meantime, hello to the Truth ICC, a man who appears to never be low in energy, as far as I can tell. Hello and welcome. My YouTube channel name asks JYO. It is Astaneh Chess. It is exactly the same as my Lichess username of Astaneh Chess. And Arcodipto, what's up? It's good to see you, Mr. Arcodipto. Some of the Fianchetto regulars are showing their faces here. So always good to see. Okay, knight e1, knight e3. Sequence of exchanges. a4 happens here, and a5. White is just playing a slow game here. Nothing too crazy. b3 looking to defend the pawn. Rook c5 targeting this pawn. Knight e5. Maybe knight c4 targeting the pawn on a5. How are you going to stop that? Rook over, but maybe knight b6 is a little bit annoying. After rook takes c5, do you take with the pawn or do you take with the rook? They took with the rook, looking to grab this pawn, but in the end, the rook on h5 looking a little bit silly here for white. Has to actually transfer over in a very funny way. Maybe rook a1 here. No, he goes for rook c1. That makes a lot of sense. Man United Pro playing well. Maybe missed knight d7 to gain a tempo against this rook. Knight c5, possible. Instead, better rook c5, targeting this pawn. Knight b2, knight c4. Looks like an interesting idea just to put pressure on this pawn. For now, white driving the king forward and looking to expand in the center, perhaps. Knight here. Now the rook is a little bit out of commission. It's targeting this pawn on b6, but the knight was defending. Knight targets the pawn on e6, and now you have the option of taking this pawn. I'm a little bit surprised, to be honest, by Man United Pro's play in this particular game, and now he seems to have messed things up a little bit. He's lost this pawn. He does get it back because Amin there making a key mistake, actually giving it back and swapping into this king and pawn endgame. And now Amin has to be very, very careful. I think that you're just lost. e4 takes, d5. This pawn is going to run forward, but it's not so easy. Do you take like this? Maybe f5 now. Pawn takes h5, but I think king d4 rescues the pawn, because after takes, king e4 or king e3, white is in time. White is in the so-called square, and these two pawns cannot be caught. If you take this one runs. If you go here, the second you're here, this pawn runs. And if you go here, then this pawn runs further. So this is, again, absolutely essential to understand these pawn endgames. There is one thing I will say. Anybody who might be watching and is interested in improving their bullet chess, I think fundamentals of king and pawn and rook and pawn endgames. So pawn endgames and rook endgames, learn the fundamentals. That will improve your bullet play tremendously, and improve like basic tactical patterns. I think those things like fundamentals of endgames and like basic like 2-3 move tactical patterns and combinations is huge. Like that's what bullet is a lot of the time. Like look at this: pawn takes, queen takes d4. little combination. That's all it is. And the idea here, queen takes, is if you take, I take your rook, you cannot take me here because of this. And that is actually why sometimes you see some players, they're bullet specialists, but when it comes to real, like over the board classical games, they're proportionally much less strong. Actually, an example of that would be myself. I mean, I'm probably significantly stronger in bullet than I am in classical chess, and that is partly because those little combinations. I think I'm just I've trained them more in part, and I'm just in a sense they've always come like more naturally to me, perhaps. So if you want to improve your bullet, and I would say your blitz as well, those fundamentals, but especially also like fundamentals of pawn and rook endgames, those are really, really important, because you'll pick up so many wins as a result, find so many winning sequences as a result of having those things down pat, as they say. So going back to this game, Mutti Pro or Man United Pro has a lot of time and just has all the material in the world here, up a queen and threatening checkmate. So there we see queen takes g2. Ratchet asks, what's my opinion on keyboard players? I haven't given it much thought. In general, I have played a keyboard player every once in a while, and frankly speaking, I mean, I find it very lame, very lame as an experience, as a player experience, to play against someone who uses the keyboard, because essentially you get into these spots where you have like a lot of time on the clock relative to your, you have plenty of time on the clock relative to your opponent, and against pretty much everyone in the world. Maybe like someone like Andrew Tang at peak Andrew Tang, maybe you're not converting, but like almost any player who's using the mouse, you're pretty confident that you're going to convert. And then it's almost like you're playing like a bot that is just answering instantly, and you wind up failing to convert a lot of positions. And so what happens, I've sometimes played like a keyboard player who you can tell the quality of their chess itself is very poor, but they're able to maintain like relatively high ratings because they just have such a monumental edge in the time scrambles. And so as a player, when you play someone like that, it's not very interesting. It's not fun. But do I think it's wrong to do? I think that's a different discussion. I think it's, I don't know, I haven't given it much thought, but I think it's not fun. I think it takes away from the enjoyment of the game. And some people will debate that, and that's fair enough. But to me, it's like a little bit similar to, for example, players who are pre-moving. You know, this typical trick where you play, let's say, pawn to d4, and your opponent goes g6, and you go bishop h6, hoping that they go bishop g7, and then you'll take it. There's a lot of players who play these moves with the idea of catching out. They're like pre-move hunters. And again, that's completely within the rules of the game to be a pre-move hunter. But if I'm honest, like I played a guy recently in Bullet, and he tried to do the pre-move hunting 3 times against me. And thankfully I have quite a lot of experience playing, and so I was alert to this possibility, and I actually I won those 3 games because I was up a piece basically out of the opening. But I stopped playing, and the reason is because I don't like playing bullet matches against players like that, because it introduces an element into the game where I have to worry, or I have to watch out constantly. Is this guy going to try to pre-move snipe, you know? And it's within the rules of the game, and it's whatever, right? Like, that's fine. But I personally, as a player, don't find it enjoyable. And for me, the keyboard issue is kind of similar. It's like, I've thought about it more in the context of, do I find it enjoyable to play against, than in the context of, is it like ethical or unethical? If you ask me like can I click my fingers and live in a world where keyboard players don't exist? Absolutely, I would do so. But yeah, I haven't explored the like counter arguments. What do you guys think? Man United Pro still in first place here. He's looking to convert against Papassi. He's got 2 extra pawns, so that should do it. Rook G1 can pick up 1 pawn, but this pawn on F3 is going to be too dangerous, and you can also pick this one up at some point soon. Black just looking to guide this pawn. Takes a shot at Rook takes A6, but no dice. Yeah, I remember actually Lafong, someone, yeah, the Lafong says, Jesse. I once played actually against Lafong in in an event, but that was a different case. He didn't Lafong me. He flagged me in some way that I remember tilted me at the time, but he didn't Lafong me. So I mean, the thing about Lafong is once something like bishop h6 is known as the Lafong, when you're actually playing Lafong, you're gonna be on your guard in that respect. Knight takes d5 is a crushing move, and Man United Pro just looks to be about to pick up another win. But I don't know why he didn't take this pawn. He goes for but he goes such a nice sequence. This is the point, and if pawn takes, queen takes, and you don't even have something like rook d8 skewering the bishop because queen takes e6 check. So that was really, really nice. I thought he was just going to take here, but he goes back. And after takes, both of me and Gokar we both missed this. He's up against Jasugi here. Yeah, and we've got some kind of London system set up here. c4, d takes c4, bishop takes c4. Royal Solo says, I think pre-move sniping is perfectly okay. Also keyboard. You could also discuss about Ultra Bullet in general. Yeah, like pre-move sniping, to be clear, Royal Solo, I think pre-move sniping is perfectly okay. Also, like, it's, what I mean is, as a player, I don't find it interesting to play against that. So in general, if someone pre-move snipes, like my results against pre-move sniping are way, way better. Like I'm confident that if someone plays a match against me over, let's say, 100 games, and that person is going to pre-move snipe against me like semi-regularly, even if I have no idea going into the match that they're going to pre-move snipe, I'm really confident I'm going to do a lot better against them if they're the same rating as someone who doesn't pre-move snipe. So like my results go up against pre-move snipers because I'm used to dealing with it. So you catch out like the majority of the pre-move snipes. But like it's not I think it's not fun because for me it's like chess is fun because you're trying to like outplay your opponent, right? And so if you get X% of your games are essentially decided on whether or not you detect the pre-move snipe in time or not, like that is just like for me it makes sense that it's a lot less interesting, you know. So I guess a lot of people will probably feel similarly, but I don't think it's unethical. I just think it's, I think it's uninteresting. Here we have a funny position here, 3 minor pieces, and Jasugi needs to convert here against Man United Pro. But I think Man United Pro has the queen, has the advantage here because there's a lot of checks with the queen. But Jasugi is super fast, and the queen is actually, oh, so many checks with the pieces here. This is a hilarious game. I mean, oh, so nasty. He had bishop g2 was checkmate for Jasugi. He was one move away from a beautiful checkmate, actually. With the bishop and the knight, it's usually very difficult to checkmate, but those 2 pawns were lending a helping hand here. But unfortunately and there was no way to escape it, but unfortunately for Jasugi, he was just one move too late. But yeah, and to discuss Ultra Bullet in general, Royal Solo, I mean, I'm with you, like Ultra Bullet. Oh, sorry, I'm not with you because I don't actually know your opinion on it. But I suspect your opinion. If I had to take a guess, I suspect that you feel Ultra Bullet is a bit too fast, and maybe not that interesting. I remember actually, I find Ultra Bullet. I mean, I don't find it interesting. I mean, maybe if I was like a lot younger, I would find it interesting. But yeah, I first played Ultra Bullet, I guess, 3 years ago or something, 3-4 years ago, and at that point I was like 30 years old, and I think if you're 30 years old and you're playing Ultra Bullet, it's too late. It's too late for you. So yeah, I feel like it's a fun game but I honestly think I wouldn't be surprised if I saw like the age statistics on like who is playing Ultra Bullet regularly, and it was like majority were teenagers. I would not be like at all surprised if Ultra Bullet players were on average something like 6-7 years younger, at least than the average bullet player. I wouldn't be too surprised. Maybe 6-7 years is a lot, but a decent difference. Because I think for most people it's just too fast and it's too much of a mouse click fest. Okay, where are we at? We've looked at Man United Pro. He's on 114 against 101. Okay, but Chess with Coco, or sorry, not Chess with Coco. Halwang92 says that C9 may actually catch up Andrew Tang because he's on 101 points against 114. So let's take a look at let's go on the Tang cam for a little bit here, and he's looking to get that checkmate on the h7 point, queen g6, looking for rook takes h6, bishop e3, defending, bishop f5, trying to cut off the coordination. Rook takes h6 looks good to me. But g5 even stronger. That's nasty because bishop takes, queen takes, and then you've just got this nastiness here. And if not, rook takes h6, there's just nothing to do. And you feel like Andrew Tang has just won this game, so I'm pretty sure we're going to see a resignation very, very soon. We see bishop takes g5, queen takes g5, and yeah, just I think even rook takes h6 here. It's just lights out. But you feel like there was an opportunity missed here, I think. Here, queen f1. Check, force the queens off the board, because if you take, you have to go queen c1, and so the queens get off the board, heavy pieces off the board, and that would have allowed black to be equal and to survive. In the end, the king was a real problem, but this is huge for Andrew, who needs to keep winning in order to mount a real challenge here. So we're going to focus a little bit on the chess. We were talking about hyperbullet and keyboards and all of this for the last while, but now with 25 minutes to go, let's see, can Andrew Tang make a little bit of a comeback here? Okay. And by a little bit of a comeback, I mean, can he make a full comeback and actually end up winning the event? He is in that number 2 rank, and if there's one thing about Andrew Tang that I've noticed, is that when he smells blood, right? I mean, when he sees I have a chance, he tends to really like pick up the pace, and I wouldn't be surprised at all if we see like another, like this is going to be a next level of quality of play here from Andrew Tang. So bishop takes e7, rook takes c2, rook takes BGD. I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce your name, but yeah, he asks, where's Alireza? Why is he not playing anymore? Good question. I don't know. I don't know. I know that he used to, for a while, he was, I think he was streaming, right? He was streaming with chess.com, I think. But I'm not sure if that's still continuing. I know that he was I know there was a bunch of streaming, and like I know his brother ran a channel where he would stream from time to time. I don't know if that's still active. Maybe someone else knows. But here, bishop b5, by the way, looked super strong. Just cut off the rook and then pushed the pawn. Now rook b4, king c4. Still, when the rook moves, now bishop b5. But that could have been done a little bit earlier. Now take the pawn, take the rook, promote. Should be quite straightforward here for Andrew Tang. And Andrew is going to be collecting that win. He gets another win. So where are we at in the event? 105 against 114. So there's a 9-point gap. But here's the thing. Now Andrew Tang is on fire. He's got that streak icon, which means that he's playing for double the points. So he really needs a win here. Not the kind of player you want to face. Haik Martirosyan is a tough cookie here. But of course, Andrew has no reason to be afraid of anyone in bullet. And here we see a3, a5, stopping this idea. Crucial game for Andrew, d5. But for Martirosyan as well, in number 5, if he wants a podium finish, he needs good results fast. Takes d5, knight takes d5, and knight goes back to c3. An exchange. We have an isolated queen's pawn. Black gets rid of it. That's a very important move. And now you see that white is actually in trouble. Andrew just giving up pawns here in order to try to survive, but I don't think he's going to survive this. This could be quite disastrous here for Andrew, because what a difference it would make if he could collect the full 4 points here and keep his streak. It's a really absolutely crucial game. But he's managed to pick up 1 pawn. A little bit of a slip up there from arm 777 from Martirosyan. Knight goes back to e4. For the time being, nevertheless, white is down. Maybe rook d1 looked interesting to just pin that bishop. White is nevertheless still down a pawn. King is a bit exposed, but white has rook takes f5. If queen d1, rook over. And is that a winning combination? Oof. But why do you do this? Queen h2. Queen h2 was checkmate. Queen h2 was just checkmate. And nevertheless, that was horrible. That was a horrible collapse there. I felt maybe rook f1 offered slightly more chances, but there was a variation there where there was a sequence of checks I'm sure both players saw where black is probably winning, or at least white is tied down with no real chance certainly to win, and probably a quite miserable continuation. So I think that's why he went for the other move. Anyway, now really Tang is up against it, because that loss is horrible, and that's why he's berserked. So queen goes to b6, queen e8 check, bishop d7, targeting this bishop. The bishop comes off the board, and wait a second. This one, no, it's black to play. Rook to d2 looks like a nice move. How do you build up the pressure? It's clear that this, by the way, is not a threat because of queen takes f6. And rook e7 is how you build up the pressure, but rook f5 missed by Andrew Tang. And there we go. He has to actually give up his queen. And in the end, well, the pawn on f7 is targeted, but queen and bishop is clearly worth more. The only thing that Andrew has going for him is the clock situation. King g2, rook f1. Now, Andrew needs to show that patented speed. The queen is hanging, but Andrew needs to show the speed. Gokar Khan is incredibly fast, but is he as fast as Andrew? Is he as fast? He is actually not only as fast, he is faster than Andrew. He loses all his material, so he doesn't get the win. Gokar doesn't get the win, but he does get that flag, which frustrates Andrew on his attempt to make a comeback here. And we're going to stick with Andrew for at least this one more game. But let's actually take a look. What are the current standings? We can see that Andrew is in 3rd place with 106 points. Now, he's not even in 2nd place, and that was a crucial matchup actually against Gokar Khan, who needed that draw in order to stay to keep his 2nd pole position. So we might move to Gokar Khan if Andrew Tang does not achieve a win here in this particular game. And another very tough opponent in Alexander Bortnick. f3. If you take on g3, you're going to be in trouble because bishop takes h7. At least this way, by not taking here, you don't invite the rook to the party, which you probably wouldn't survive if you did. Knight f5, bishop goes to f4. g4 is an idea, followed by queen h4, and I don't see how you're going to survive this. I mean, yes, you can survive for a while, but you're now down 2 pawns. You have to play this endgame. And actually, to be honest, this might be even worse than getting checkmated if you're Andrew Tang, because you feel an obligation to continue playing this game, but your chances that you do get any result other than a loss is actually they're pretty slim, and at the same time you're burning a lot. You're burning the clock by a lot there. I'm not sure about this particular sequence. I think there was something a little bit more convincing there. King e6, however, is a very clever idea. Will white just say, okay, I'll give you my rook here, pawn takes, and want knight d4, and that's exactly why Penguin goes c5. And now actually maybe Penguin is going to make me sort of eat my words, in the sense that I said that the probability that you get any result here, that the result goes your way, is slim to none. But doesn't seem to be that the case. It seems like Penguin is putting up a very serious fight. Knight e1, targeting the rook. Where do you go? Rook g3. Now the problem is that white is down in exchange, but has like 18 pawns or something. So now he's giving one up, and he's giving up a second one and a third one. I don't know what that was. That was completely unnecessary. Might be a little bit of panic with the clock situation, and now Penguin has him where he wants him. He has to dodge the fork there with knight e5. He does. Rook is targeted. Rook d6. Now he's just going to exchange and look for... Oh, it's incredible how close Penguin comes there to potentially even losing on the clock, but he does get the win. And that was a crucial win. And we see that are the results, still 108, 110, and 122 for the top three players here. Martirosyan, he's in fourth place with 106 points. He can also do it. And Knight King, of course, with 106 points. Zhigalko, you can't rule him out with 102 points. So Queen takes c6 and e5. So 17 minutes to go. Really, honestly, this is it for, he's even been leapfrogged there by Martirosyan, who's now in third place and has fire. So we're going to switch over to Martirosyan, I think, because, he is simply the favorite now to challenge Gokar Khan and Martirosyan. Sadly for the fans of Penguin, aka C9C9, aka Andrew Tang, this is just how it is. I think Arm is the one with the best chance for now. So we're going to see, can he do it? Bishop goes to a6, targets the rook. And the reason why he has the best chance is not so much that he has an extra, no, he doesn't even have an extra point. The reason is he has the fire, which means that if he continues to build a winning streak, every game that he wins counts for double. And that is the only chance that you're going to get really to catch up and to try and bridge this huge gap. To be honest with you, the gap is so big right now. It's 16 points. Man United Pro has been enjoying a good streak. His opponents have been enjoying a poor streak. And I think, at this point, I'm not sure that you're going to be able to catch up, even if you win every single game on a streak, because that's also fate destiny is, let's say, in Man United Pro's hands, in my opinion now, because if he racks up good results over the coming last 16 minutes of the tournament, I think that's going to be enough, of course. But for now, Martirosyan, he can only control his own fate here and his own games. And he has just picked up a win, and he's on 112 points with a streak. And importantly, the last game for Man United Pro was a loss. So now he's waiting to get paired. That's why we see the board like this. And he gets paired against Bortnick. Here we go. He has the black pieces against Bortnick. He needs a win, essentially. So I think he's going to be playing it for a win. Bortnick as well, though. He's in 6th place. He wants a podium finish. Bishop d6, bishop f4, knight e2, just defending this bishop, queen c7, insisting on resolving the tension here. c3, fortifying the center. Knight transfers over to g3 and e5 with a break. The thing about this is black has the bishop and a knight, which might be slightly better than 2 knights on average, but he's been left with this isolated pawn. In general, this game, not really where you want to be in this position. White has knight takes h6, nasty little blow. The point was if pawn takes, queen takes knight. And now knight g6, resign time. Martirosyan is literally going to resign here, because if pawn takes, you're going to take the queen. And this is absolutely, this is the exact opposite of what you want, right? In a must-win situation. And Knight King is going to be very, very happy there with that win. Man United Pro is also going to be happy. He grabs a win in that space of time. The gap is 14 points. And what a nasty one. Gokar Khan, in the meantime, has lost the last 3 games in a row. What can you do there? I mean, Man United Pro is just not being challenged by his rivals here, who are all sort of beating each other up. Bishop d2. Are you just not... You're losing your queen. What is this? Bishop d2, and you lose the queen on the spot. And knight e5, he plays on. I think Martirosyan is in shock, right? Because he had a completely winning position out of the opening, and he played practically the only move where you can lose here. And his position was so good that you can actually justify still playing on. You might actually get a result here if you are Martirosyan. The point, if queen takes, there's bishop e3 will hit the queen. Bishop e3 anyway, defending the knight now that the king steps away. Queen b5, c4. Let's crack things open. If queen takes, there's rook c1, rook b1. The reason is this is a difficult position to play for black, because look at the pieces. They're just totally stuck because of this horrid pawn structure. Queen c3, knight is targeted, bishop is targeted, so you go rook b3, target the queen. Queen a5, now you drop the knight back. If pawn takes, there's always bishop takes with a check. Black very happy to exchange pieces. c6, cracking open lines of attack against the king. Maybe knight e5, maybe rook c3 instead. Maybe knight e5, knight c6 is an idea. But the problem is you've given up your queen, so even if you're collecting a rook, you have to be careful, right? I mean, a rook is great, but it's nowhere near enough for now. White needs to win more material, but that's a good start. Bishop g7 was a bad pre-move, and bishop goes to d4. Now b4 hits the rook, the other rook is hit, rook e1, rook takes e6 is a possibility. 13 seconds against 5. Martirosyan might actually do this. He might, I mean, it's a game that he should have won 10 hours ago, right? But he's going to win it. Amin with a collapse there as the clock situation just runs down. And it shows you 2 things. So one, how brilliant Martirosyan is as a bullet player, that he was able to turn it around after losing his queen, and 2, how great his position was that he could do that against the player of Amin Tabatabaei's caliber. It, I guess, tells you a 3rd thing as well. Martirosyan must be pretty damn frustrated, right, after blowing that game early in a crucial situation against Bortnick, and then to have to take forever to win this game, which could have been a very fast victory for him had he not hung his queen. So 12 minutes to go, and we are looking at a 14-point gap. It's theoretically it's doable, but it's highly unlikely. It requires Martirosyan to really just win every single game from now on in order to build that streak, and it requires Man United Pro to have a pretty rough patch from now till the end. And by the way, we're not rooting for one person or another, although in my opinion there is always that you kind of want, at least, I don't know if you guys are the same, but at least the way I am, you kind of want to root for the guy who's like whoever is the person who's chasing the leader, because it makes it I think more interesting in the end, rather than sometimes one of these events it's just decided after an hour. It's practically decided, and then the last hour is just a kind of a victory lap. That's a little bit extreme, but in any case, let's go back to this game. It looks like we might see a resignation from Bashirli, because we're going to see just promotion here, and I don't see, so he plays the move, the a-queen, and resignation. So that's what he needs to do, and now he absolutely needs a win here because he has the streak. So the streak is essential. He's up against Kjart. Don't know who Kjart is, but he's nearly 3,000 rated player. Not really what you want, but huge gift here for Martirosyan, who receives the gift of the Berserk. Now, the probability that he's going to win this just shot up like a huge amount, right? Knight takes e5, maybe some tricks there with pawn takes and queen. He's not doing too well, but I think nevertheless, he picked up this pawn back, so now he's absolutely fine. He can look to eye up this pawn next, d5. Kjart is opening things up. I guess, I don't know why Kjart is sort of gifting that Berserk. Some players, they just enjoy it, but I think in 16th place, I don't think Kjart has any chances to win, right? Whereas after berserking, you're almost guaranteeing yourself a loss here against the player of the caliber of Martirosyan. So here we go. We see that the position is actually very equal. Kjart showing his class here, a 3,000 rated player. But what can you do? you're just going to get ground down here on the clock. Rook b4, targeting the bishop. a5, we're looking for a4, kicking the bishop back. Maybe rook b2, activating the pieces further. The bishop is beautifully anchored for us. a3 as well. Now, maybe we're going to see rook takes e2 and rook b2, and just continuing to build that pressure. There we see rook takes f2, rook c2, targeting the bishop. Rook here, maybe c4. Maybe this is the idea. I want to take, and then a2, and there's nothing that you can do. And there we go. We have this position. Now it's, while at the same time Martirosyan got a gift at the very start, now he's getting the, you know, the opposite of a gift. Kart could resign, but Kart is playing on. And of course, Martirosyan needs those resignations to come as early as possible to give him the best chance. He's down to, he's going to get the mate there on the next move though. There we go. So where are we at? We have Man United Pro. It's on 130, but huge news. Man United is on the streak himself. So maybe we should move to Man United Pro, perhaps. I don't know. What do you guys think? Would you like to stay on Martirosyan and see can he continue to win and stage a comeback, or go to Man United Pro? Let me know, guys. Whatever gets more, you know, more votes in the chat, so to speak. I'll just watch them. So for now, the underdog is the only comment that I'm seeing from Ratchet. Let's stay. Okay, people are saying, most people have said Man United Pro. So, oh, no. Man United Pro for 2. And then let's stay until he loses for 2. So it's a 2-all draw there. No abs, only kebabs says, I think Alireza may have temporarily given up online games to focus on his classical. Makes sense. I can imagine he has big ambitions, as he should. I mean, he's an incredible talent, and maybe he's a little frustrated with himself that his results in the last, let's say, year and a half or so maybe aren't quite as good as he wanted them to be, even though they've been amazing. I'm not saying, but when you're that level, by the way, it looks like we're going to be switching regardless here with, yes, we're going to be switching to Man United Pro because he is going to win, I think, because this is going to be a loss here for Martirosyan. He's down a piece. Wait, let's just watch this game and then we'll switch to Man United Pro, because there's something quite exciting about this game, which is that Zhigalko, oh, but why do you do this? Like, if you go Queen E1, you have a chance. You have a chance of actually winning this against Zhigalko, even though you're down a rook because of the clock situation. But this, Zhigalko will never not win. Okay, so let's go, and we see now 132 against 120. What a huge game that was, because if Martirosyan had won that game, it was going to be an 8-point gap. It was going to be an 8-point gap, and he was going to be the only one with the streak. So that was a big game, and must have been a tough one, tough loss to take. Bishop takes c5 here. Rook takes c5, looking for rook takes b3. Rook b5, looking to exchange, and knight to d6. King f8. Boring endgame, really, to try to defend here. Not really where you want to be if you're Man United Pro, but on the other hand, not the worst. You're grinding down the sort of the clock situation here. You might lose this game, but you might just about be able to hold on. I don't think you can, though. I think it's going to be lights out because of this idea, but I'm a little bit surprised. Why not King a6? Okay, there we see King a6, and you do actually lose the game. And so Man United Pro is on 132, but Penguin is on 121, so we cannot rule out Penguin. Let's stick with Man United Pro for now. But let's watch out, because with 6 minutes to go, what we need to see for maximum drama, and this is Man United Pro, by the way, I don't know him personally, but I've seen him on camera for one of the Qatar Bullet Masters event. It seems like a lovely guy. I never heard a bad thing about him, so I'm absolutely not rooting against him as an individual. But having said that, for maximum drama, if we see a Penguin win in this round here and a loss for Man United Pro, things could get very tense here, because that would narrow the gap to only 7 points with about 5 minutes on the clock. So this game for both Penguin and for Man United Pro is crucial. Knight takes b2. This is not where you want to be if you're Man United Pro. You just lost your queen, and that was 21 moves as wide, and resign time for Man United Pro. He loses this game, and oof. And yeah, okay, let's see. 126 against 132. Oh my God. I don't know who to look at anymore, whether to look at Man United Pro or to look at Penguin. I feel like we should go to Penguin. I mean, at this point, I think Penguin can do it if he... Oh my God, Black resigned. Oh, this is actually painful. That was another 21 move loss there for Man United Pro. This is actually painful. Let's move over. That's 2 losses in 21 moves, 2 miniatures for the tournament leader. And now we're seeing Penguin, who is probably being informed by his Twitch chat, probably about just how close he is, or maybe I guess he probably has it on some other monitor, just how close he is and how poorly Man United Pro has done. So thankfully for Man United Pro is the fact that we are no longer jinxing him. The second we went to see, it was just it was a disaster. And why could you not take that knight on d4? It looked to me like it was just hanging, but now Black maybe was just I think that there was a checkmate thread, a clever checkmate idea, which I don't have time to show. But h4, h5 here, knight goes to d4, bishop goes to c8, maybe looking for knight e6 at some point. The knights are a little bit pinned here, are a little bit kind of stuck, pressure against those knights, and bishop g2 trying to fortify them. Knight to g5. Penguin needs this win. He absolutely needs to win to put the squeeze on. 3 minutes to go, 134 points. So looks like queen takes g3, by the way, was a threat. Bishop takes f2. Bishop takes f2. Oof. Queen takes and bishop takes. It's resign time. And Penguin gets a huge win. And with that win, where are we at? We've got 3 minutes on the clock. We're still waiting for Penguin to have a game, right? We're still waiting for the Penguin game. But we're on 130 points. But Man United Pro is on 136. And here is the game. 3 minutes to go. 3 minutes to go in the event. They're both playing against each other. One of them, if not both of them, are going to lose their streak. This is a crucial game. Penguin needs to win this in order to stay in the hunt, stay in the race. I think whoever wins this game, if we do have a winner, whoever wins this game is going to win the event. Certainly if Man United Pro wins it, is going to win the game. So let's talk about the game itself. Bishop e3, pinning the knight, b3, just consolidating here. Queen a5, rook e1, b5 takes, rook a1, hitting the queen. Queen has to move. Does it go to b4? That's a bit dangerous. So queen goes back to d8. The bishop is hit. Knight takes b5. Very dangerous move. Bishop takes. The reason it's dangerous is because of this pin. Knight takes e4. There's also this. So pieces are flying everywhere. It's a completely crazy game. Knight a7 targets the rook. And that seems to be a really strong move. Now, it gives an option to take here, but that's actually well defended. So you probably want to move this rook now with this attack. Rook a6, targeting the pawn on d6. I think you can take it because... No, you cannot, because at the end of this sequence, you lose this rook. Rook a2 has to defend the knight. Bishop goes to f5, hitting the queen. Queen moves. Now, knight e4, continuing to harass the queen. Queen drops back. Queen h4. Potentially looking for pressure against f2, pressure against h3, maybe even bishop to e5, f3. Very dangerous move because you weaken the kingside position. Knight c3 targeted the rook. Rook a6. Rook takes e3. Huge bishop d4. Bishop d4. Man United Pro has won the game. Man United Pro has won the game. It's going to be resignation. He even had stronger in the form of queen takes here, winning complete material there. In the end, he's still... Penguin is still playing the game, but I think Man United Pro, with that tactical mess of a game, he outplayed Penguin tactically, and now he's going to collect this knight. He outplayed him on the clock as well, and he does get the win. And I think with that is going to be the deserved champion. That's 140 points against 130, and what a difference one game makes, because otherwise it would have been both players on the same amount of points, but with a crucial difference, and that is that it would have been Penguin who was actually on the streak. And now both players drew here by mutual agreement. Penguin offering a draw. That's absolutely hilarious that he just offers the draw. And I think he might literally offer another draw here after like 9-10 moves. He might just continue offering draws, but I don't think he's going to get there against Zhigalko. And anyway, it's too late. He offered a draw against Zhigalko, probably to try, but bizarre that Zhigalko took it because Zhigalko is on 130 points. So that's a strange strategy. I don't know what exactly Zhigalko was thinking of. Maybe he was thinking, I need that extra point in order to try to secure my third place against Heisenberg. But wait a second, am I seeing this right? how I don't know. No, he's playing Zhigalko now. He took the draw against Bortnick. What am I saying? I can't understand a thing here. But the question now is not, there we go, tournament is finished, and black did resign here. White was victorious just at the very end of the tournament. I don't know if it counted, but in any case, the tournament is absolutely has been absolutely just crazy at the very end. Let's actually view that tournament here. It went absolutely down to the wire, and we have, in the end, Man United Pro, first place, 140 points, deserved winner. Had to fight for it to the very end, but what a performance, 3180, 63 games played with a win rate of 71%. I think nobody can deny he was the best overall player, but in the event. But what can be said? I mean about Penguin and his ability to stage one hell of a comeback. And yeah, you have to feel for him not getting that sort of Hollywood finish across the line there just at the very last seconds. I think that would have been quite the buzz if that had happened. But yeah, Man United Pro gets the win. Penguin in second place, aka C9, and Sergei Zhigalko, another heavyweight of online bullet and blitz events, but especially I think bullet. And he's a veteran, and he's in third place. And yeah, what a strong performance as well from him, with all players scoring a performance over 3,050. But I mean, incredible from Man United Pro, 3180. Heisenberg, that hurts because he misses the podium spot. He ends up in fourth place, even though he shared the same amount of points as Zhigalko. While Marty Rosian, who had been a dominant force at parts of this event, in the end slipped up with a not very convincing finish. Just when you're playing a field as strong as this, it can happen that you just go on a bad streak. And he winds up in fifth place, getting the last of the cash prizes. So $500 goes to Man United Pro, $250 for the Penguin, $125 for Sergei Zhigalko, $75 to FIDE Master Heisenberg, and $50 to the Armenian Grandmaster Marty Rosian. Let me just catch up with the chat. Let's see. Thank you, Jesse and Royal Solo TV, by the way, for your comments on my commentary, and Julius as well. Thank you. Glad that you guys enjoyed it. Oh, the truth. I don't think I ever say 99 Pro. I think it's you. The truth. I think it's you. Yeah. Did I say certainly if Mud Pro wins it, he wins the game? Did I say that actually, Jesse? If you draw, wow, no joke chess. I didn't actually know this. If you draw two in a row in less than 30 moves, you do not get a point. And I guess Andrew knows that. I suspect he does, but that's really interesting to know that's the policy. And GG says Toad of Sky and No Joke Chess. Yeah, it was very exciting at the end. I mean, I felt it was all kind of like the tempo was all going at a slow and steady kind of tempo for a while. There were a lot of players who could potentially win the race, and then it felt like one of those races where you see like in cycling or in running, like one of those long distance running races where they're all kind of at the same speed, and you kind of at least as someone who doesn't track these things or doesn't know much about these sports, when you look at it, it almost feels like, okay, it could be any one of 20 people who win the race. But then at the very last stretch, all hell breaks loose. And it felt like that is what happened today. And No Abs Only Kebab says, notice how Man United Pro had the least berserk rate, and lesson here is not to berserk. Yeah, it's a good point. Actually, he did have the least berserk rate. But on the other hand, if you're going to say that that's the lesson, we could say that Penguin, he came in second place here, even though he had a berserk rate like 3.5 times or whatever that of Sergei's. And Skis, it was good to see you and thank you. Likewise, Arcadipto. Thank you, Dugas. And yeah, I think that's it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed today's stream, and yeah, I'm sure that there'll be more streams in the very near future. Certainly, titled arenas are on every couple of weeks. I won't be available to do commentary for the next few, but I'm sure that there will be commentary from a range of other streamers and coaches and this and that. So hope you guys enjoyed tonight, and yeah, enjoy your evening. We're gonna raid Casablanca now, so if anyone would like to join the raid party, let's go there. Now, I think I can I can stop the stream now. I hope that's not gonna